In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Uncle Straps Z199 bracelet for the Seiko SPB143 62MAS SPB series. There's a lot more watches in this range. We have the SPB143 in gray, the 147 in brown and gilt, and a bunch of other colorways, limited edition, and etc. All you have to do if you want to make sure that this bracelet fits your watch is to look in the back of the watch. You're going to find a case number, which is 00P0. If it has a 00P0 after the 6R35, then this bracelet will fit your watch no problem. So let's go through the specifications of this bracelet. We have 316L stainless steel tapering down from 20 millimeters all the way to 60 millimeters. In comparison with the OEM bracelet, it tapers from 20 to 18. The links themselves are much smaller and thinner. We have 3 millimeters in terms of thickness for the Uncle Straps one, and 3.5 millimeters in terms of thickness for the OEM bracelet. The length of the links is 6.3 millimeters, whereas the length for the OEM is 9.5 millimeters. So in terms of the feel of the bracelet, the OEM is a lot chunkier, whereas a lot bigger and heavier, whereas for the Z199, it's a lot more free-flowing. Look at this articulation right here. Really molds to your wrist and feels lighter in comparison with the OEM bracelet, especially with the female end links right here that tapers, not tapers, but that flows straight down from the case. It will really mold to your wrist like a glove, as you can see right here on my 6.5-inch wrist. Looks very nice indeed. Also, another thing that I really like about this bracelet is that it's completely brushed. The top is brushed, the side is brushed, everything is brushed, and especially for this tool watch look, I really like that whole completely brushed look in comparison to maybe a more flashy alternative like the Jubilee right here that has the polished center links and the polished sides. Now you might be thinking that this bracelet is basically just a Jubilee bracelet that is brushed, but that is not entirely true. As you can see right here, the sides of the bracelet is not like the Jubilee. The Jubilee really is like the sides, the links are actually half circles, as you can see right here from the side. They're polished, right? Half circles. Even the center links are like these half circles. Whereas with this, it's a very vintage look. Actually, I do have a vintage diver right here, the Tag Heuer vintage diver from 20 years ago. These bracelets are very similar, as you can see from your screen. Very free-flowing bracelet with these, I don't know how you call this shape, but it's like rounded, kind of like a rice shape, but the bottom is flat and the top is rounded, as you can see right here, right? This Z199 design is actually from a retro Seiko quartz diver, the quartz diver 7548 from the late 70s. And Uncle Straps revived this bracelet and put it in a bunch of other watches. On the wrist, compared to the OEM bracelet, it's very comfortable, way more comfortable, less heavier than the OEM bracelet. And the fit of the end links is much better. I'm going to be showing you guys a comparison later on. Now, one thing though is that you might not be familiar with this type of clasp. This is a friction clasp, right? Which has 7 positions of micro adjust. It is not exactly like the usual, flip lock double button deploying clasp that you see on most watches these days. This is a more retro design, as you can see right here from this retro Tag Heuer diver. The way you open this friction clasp, you might be thinking that, yeah, you gotta do this, but actually it's actually very hard to open it like this. I'm actually hurting my finger trying to open it. The way you open it, if you do get this bracelet, is you just have to slide your finger underneath right here in this area and pull up, and it goes off right away. If you try to do it like this, yes, you can do it, but you're probably gonna hurt your fingers doing it. If instead of doing this, you can pull on both sides like this, but it definitely demands a lot more strength to open compared to this method right here, where you just flick it up like this and it all goes off right away if you do get one of these friction fit bracelet. And you might be thinking, oh my god, it might just fall off the wrist. There's no way this is gonna fall off the wrist if you I'm hurting my fingers just trying to open this. But if you do not like this design, They also make a double button push design, but you have to pay extra on Uncle Strap's website if you want to get that design. Now, another thing I like to talk about is the lack of dial shield coating on the Z199 bracelet. The dial shield, it's this Seiko proprietary coating that prevents the watch from being scratched. And as you can see, the dial shield gives the watch a little bit of a yellow hue that is, of course, not present on the Z199 bracelet. So you do notice a difference in terms of hue. Right now, under my studio lights, it is a lot more apparent, but under normal lighting circumstances, notably, let's say if I change the hue of this, okay, now this is a more warm light, it doesn't show as much as, let's say, if I put it on full white light right here. And only at certain angles you can see the difference in terms of hue. But if this is something that bothers you, this being like a lighter color than the rest of the case, you know, it might be a deal breaker for you. I just want to warn you in terms of this difference in terms of hue between the case and the bracelet itself. In normal wearing circumstances, it's not as apparent. Let me just play with the brightness here, right here a little bit, right? It doesn't really show up as obviously in normal lighting conditions. Right now, of course, I'm under my studio light, so it's more apparent. But if this is a problem to you, definitely keep that in mind a little bit more. Another thing I like to talk about is that the end links, the OEM end links, has almost 0.5 millimeter gap right here, whereas for the Z199, it is a more tight fit. Now, as a result of this tight fit, I found it actually pretty hard to get the spring bars into the holes. Oftentimes, I would think that it's in a hole and the bracelet will just fall off. Just make sure that the spring bars are inside of the hole and give it a little bit of a tug to make sure that it is very secure. Whereas for the OEM bracelet, we do have this gap right here, but it is extremely easy to put on and remove this end link in comparison to the Uncle Strap one. I guess, you know, if you have more tolerance, right here, it's just a lot easier to take on and off, whereas for less tolerance and tighter fit, it's a bit harder to get the spring bars into the holes. And if you were to buy this bracelet, just make sure that both, you know, ends of the spring bars are inside of the hole before you put it on your wrist so that your watch doesn't fall off your wrist, of course. Now, should you buy a Z199 or should you just keep the OEM bracelet? Well, that is a very personal decision. Let me just help you guys make that decision with a pros and cons section. In terms of the pros of the Z199, the fit is super comfortable. The taper from 20 to 16 and the very free-flowing bracelet, the female end links will help it mold to your wrist a lot better, as well as it being a lot lighter than the OEM bracelet just makes the watch feel more comfortable on the wrist overall. And also, I do really like the look of the Z199 bracelet. In terms of the cons, of course, we have the difference in terms of hue right here because of the lack of dial shield coating, and also the end links, and putting the bracelet onto the watch is actually quite a pain in the butt because it was actually pretty hard for me to get both ends of the spring bars in the hole. Now, the OEM bracelet is still very nice. I do like the look of the OEM bracelet. Let me put a picture up on the screen right here for you guys. And it's definitely a more muscular design, you know, with the male end links and from the less aggressive taper from 20 to 18 and the big clasp right here with the diver's extension. Definitely looks more, you know, masculine and sporty and chunky and muscular compared to this more refined, flowy, you know, Z199 bracelet right here. So two different looks for the watch. I'm going to be putting some footage of the Z199 right next to the OEM bracelet on the screen so that you can decide which one do you prefer. So I hope this video was able to help you decide or whether or not to get this bracelet or not. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask away in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and do not hesitate to like and subscribe for more content, and until next time.